Hi, good afternoon. Um, Welcome to my channel again, and I'm continuing to work on the book Drugged, the Science and Culture Behind Psychotropic Drugs. This time, I'm just going to recapitulate what I have already presented in Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 and probably make some corrections. And I also advise you to go back and have a look at the first presentations. They are very long and extensive and includes lots of information that has been presented in the book. Or if you want, just go ahead and read the whole book and then come back to my channel and discuss it with me. I'd love to do so. So in chapter 1, the book started by talking about the discovery of the archaeological site Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. The site is no less than 11,000 to 11,500 years old BC. According to the author, the discovery shifted our paradigm of thinking and shook our confidence in Jean-Jacques Rousseau's sociological model of society for societies. Jean-Jacques Rousseau believes that humans started as hunters, gatherers, then early farmers, shepherds, metal tools, pottery, villages, towns, organized labor, then government and religion. The author did not probably mean to actually state that Jean-Jacques Rousseau's model failed based on that particular discovery that was dated back to 11,100 BC, an era that preceded the Neolithic era and came post the Ice Age, according to the author and according to the history we know. Göbekli Tepe, with its giant megalith structure and ancient engravings, buildings, infrastructures, and water installments, such big structures and must have required organized labor, and such as what happened with the pyramids. They also must have required supervision of the laborers and settlements nearby. The structure as is must have been a temple of some sort. Here goes Jean-Jacques Rousseau's model as far as the era when such type of society started. The fact that society started as hunters-gatherers is always valid, but when is not the typical exact science. Even the book, this because he talks about how hunters-gatherers sorted out plants for consumption and survival. As they were doing so, they found out some were nourishing and edibles, others were toxic, and others were magical. The latter, the magical ones, is what he focused on. Some of those people became experts at sorting out plants, specifically the ones they thought magical, have produced magical visions, provide pain relief, and those became healers, and that is how religion itself started, according to the book. That is how he linked the Göbekli Tepe to the entheogenic experience the ancient man sought for healing and spiritualism. Those circular megaliths were an architecturally attribute to the magical mushrooms such as Amanita muscaria or fly agaric. The mushroom he thought must have been the ingredient or among the ingredients used by those, in the soma, a drink mentioned in the Rig Veda, the ancient Hindu scripture, a drink that hymns in those scriptures described as having magical powers and make the ancient Hindu feel that he becomes God and or divine. A drink whose effect was so powerful that even when passed in urine and ingested again and again, it gives the same psychedelic entheogenic effect. He also preferred to He also referred to reports from Siberia about a psychedelic drink or mushroom-based drink with similar potency that can be drunk and passed in urine, then re-ingested up to 5 cycles with no abatement in its psychedelic effect. Muscimol was found to have been to have had before that. This is, of course, intrigued scientists in the field of ethnobotany and chemists. So they had to see how can such mushrooms be the main or one of the ingredients of such drinks, and most importantly, how can it be used in modern pharmacology. They applied their microscopic curiosity and knowledge of chemistry in their modern labs. They isolated the chemical compounds they thought were responsible for the psychedelic effect. For Amanita muscaria, they found that ibotenic acid or acetic acid, alpha amino 3 hydroxy 5 isoxazole, and its decarboxylated form, muscimol 3 hydroxy 5 amino methyl isosazole. Here is why they thought they were right in linking this particular mushroom to those magical potions used by ancient shamans. Only some of the ibotenic acid is decarboxylated in the guts and crosses the brain barrier while the rest pass in urine unchanged. So ibotenic acid, that mushroom, that very chemical ingredient in that mushroom, when ingested, only some of it gets decarboxylated in the guts. The rest is passed in urine unchanged. The cycle of ingestion can be and decarboxylation and secretion and excretion. Excretion can be repeated many times with similar psychedelic effect. Understanding the function of neurotransmitters helped understand the magical mushroom. So, muscimol was found to have inhibitory effect. On GABA A receptors and acts also on other receptors, but GABA A receptors have the fastest effects. Ibotenic acid is excitatory and it's decarboxylated from muscimol is inhibitory. Most sedatives and hypnotics act on GABA A receptors. With dire side effects, dependency, restlessness, restless sleep, and restlessness in when a person is awake. So when tested and turned into medicine, muscimol that has been treated in labs and became gaboxadol showed promise with less side effects. It failed passing the FDA required last phase. Later, it has been reintroduced as a treatment for tinnitus, and this for chapter 1. In chapter 2, he continues to try and connect naturally occurring plants to the genesis of religion, while focusing on scientific studies evolution in the field of naturally based pharmaceutical products and announcing the birth of modern pharmaceutical industry. We have seen some of this in chapter 1, but this is the main focus of chapter 2. We'll see it also in chapter 3 and we'll see it throughout the book. The semi-synthetic synthesis of LSD-25 after Hoffman joined Sandoz pharmaceutical company in 1933 was also a major turning point in this chapter. After he joined Sandoz, Swiss pharmacology company, that was initially Kern Sandoz for distaff, which we are going to see even further in chapter 3 because it's going to focus on this. pharmacological company switched its interest from distaff to naturally derived pharmaceutical products. Ergot or Clavisat purpura family is the major component of LSD. Ergot is rich in alkaloids that are psychoactive and affect the brain. The main extract was, or what they thought was ergotamine, that Alfred Hoffman isolated in 1917 according to the author, and ergotoxin, as had been claimed by Dale and Burroughs Wellcome research in labs 1904. They said this is the main extract, ergotoxin, but then Alfred Hoffman proved them wrong and said no, it's ergotamine. Henry Dale was Nobel prized for identifying neurotransmitters and receptors. And this is very important because that tells us how the brain works and how actually what can trigger certain effects and what can block them. Henry Dale was Nobel Prize, as I said, he was attributed the Nobel Prize for such discovery. The LSD-25, although has ergot for major component, it is highly psychedelic and it is semi-synthetic. The author wanted to find out whether there are naturally occurring plants that are ergot alkaloids, such as his semi-synthetic products, with psychedelic entheogenic effects used for spiritual and religious enhancing experiences. So Latin America was his field of exploration in this respect. He talked to us about oliloquecies, the little round things, and how they were hallucinogens, ergot alkaloids in them, as has been found in Sandoz lab, because they have those ergot, they were ergot alkaloid based. Kekion, an ancient Greek drink used by Persephone in her rituals, he connected this to the fact that it was ergot-based concoction. The Mayan mushroom theonactal. If you heard me say neonactal in the previous presentation, that was just a slip of tongue. Theonactal was used and still is used in spiritual healing ceremonies in certain region of Latin America by curanderas and curanderos, healers. Sandoz cultivated and analyzed the mushroom after a sample was shipped to them by Gordon Wasson. This guy, we heard about him in the first chapter. We're going to hear about him in other chapters. He's an ethnomycologist. He initially was a banker, then he was very interested in ethnobotany and botany and mycology. He was the one who suggested that the soma mentioned in the ancient Hindu scripture was the magical mushroom fly agaric, or used the magical mushroom fly agaric. Hoffman and Sandoz identified two psychoactive ingredients for theonactal, which they believed was psilocybin mexicana. Psilocybin and psilocin for the psilocybin mexicana, which were psilocybin and psilocin. He synthesized analogs from similar magical mushrooms, sent a powdered synthetic sample to a curandera, who did not make the difference between the actual natural one and the synthetic one. He investigated ayahuasca, a decoction that is plant-based and is still used in South America for religious and entheogenic experiences. Ayahuasca used extracts of plants such as the vine Banisteriopsis capi, or yage, or ayahuasca as called by the natives, and other plants such as Psychotria viridis and other plants also, only when these plants are combined together, not only yage by itself or ayahuasca by itself, but when the other plants are added to the mixture, when the psychedelic effect happens. How does ayahuasca have its psychedelic effects? We're gonna know that Banisteriopsis caapi, ayahuasca leaves contain banisterine, also known as telepatine, a beta carboline alkaloid, also known as harmine or harmaline, which is a monoamino oxidase inhibitor, while the other plants that are added to the decoction contain DMT, the indole alkaloid N,N-dimethyltryptamine, or related substance 5-MeO-DMT, 5-methoxy-N,N-dimethyltryptamine. Easily metabolized, it is a substrate to the enzyme monoamino oxidase. The metabolism of DMT is slowed down by the monoamino oxidase inhibitor beta carboline alkaloid contained in Banisteriopsis caapi or ayahuasca. More DMT, because it's inhibited, more DMT stays in the blood, accrued, and becomes more potent, crosses the brain, and produces the psychedelic effects. And that's how it happens. Peyote, the cactus hallucinogen, was also used by native Indians in USA and Latin America as entheogen. The psychoactive chemical was mescaline, 3,4,5-trimethoxy beta-phenethylamine. Lois Lewin was the first to discover it, and that's why that thing was called after him, Anolonium lewini. Mescaline is structurally related to phenethylamine and bears similarities to catecholamines, and that's how it is important. Debate was triggered, do we have indigenous mescaline-like products that produce madness? The substance is structurally related and resembles some neurotransmitters, its effect notorious for the psychotic-like effect. In chapter 2, the author talks about LSD-25, search other plants that are ergot alkaloids and how they were used as entheogens. He joined and was the founding member of an association that believed that mental disorders, such as mental disorders, are basically physiological disorders. That they are the product of some bad metabolism or other things that are mostly physiological. We have learned about the counterculture movement that relied heavily on the use of psychedelic in the 1960s. LSD was initially sold in pharmacies without prescription, and the Dale said it was used for the treatment, started being used for treatment of psychologically ill, of people with mental health, and also was used as for alcoholics to treat alcoholism. Celebrities organized tours where they handed LSD 25 for free to the public. Timothy Leary, a Harvard psychologist, organized experiments in the 1960s to see how psychedelics enhanced the religious experience. He created resorts that involved the use of psychedelics after he has been dismissed from his position at Harvard, and even got jailed later, and was called or described as the most dangerous man by the President Nixon. We also have learned about the involvement of the CIA in using LSD and on prisoners and the mentally sick and other targets for coercive persuasion and madness inducing. Please go back to my previous presentations or entrances on my channel to get more details about these facts, and also if those were not convincing, you can go ahead and check the book on your own. And this is it. this is what it is. I will be next presenting the third chapter, and it's also very long, and I will present it in detail, and I'll probably go back and talk about it. And I would appreciate your comments, and your subscription would help, because then I would also follow what you are presenting. As I said before, most people who check out YouTube videos are also people who present on YouTube. So until then, stay healthy and have a nice time and nice life, and bye-bye.